What's up everybody? Welcome back to another video here on YouTube, the Boudoir Secrets Masterclass. You ask about my equipment, so that's what we're gonna do in this video. I'm gonna show you my equipment and my settings, which I use to shoot boudoir and nude photography. And I'm gonna show you this new baby. So let's get started. When I first started, almost or more like a decade ago, I just bought like a cheap Samsung camera to find out if like photography is a hobby of mine or could be a hobby of mine and if I liked it. Nowadays, you don't need to buy a camera if you like to start or if you like to test photography as a hobby. You can just use like your iPhone or your mobile phone. Those make like incredible photos and they are really easy and accessible. And yeah, just start shooting boudoir and nude photography. If you ask me if like equipment does matter, a couple of weeks ago, I probably would say, no. I don't think so. But since I got my new camera and my new lens, I probably say yes, it does. Just like a tiny bit. I shoot with a Sony camera. I'm not sponsored by Sony, not yet. So guys, if you see this, Sony guys, I'm ready for you. I love Sony. This is the Sony Alpha 7R5. I'm like using the series, like the first one, second, third, fourth, and now the fifth. Love the camera. Combined it with the G Master FE 1.4 50mm lens. The combination is like king. It's super sharp. The bokeh is like amazing. I love the style of the photos. Super fast and creates amazing pictures. So let's check the settings and let's check everything, how I shoot. I choose mirrorless cameras and especially the Sony Alpha 7R5 with the 50mm 1.4 lens because of the handling. Especially weight is a major advantage. I love the fixed focal lengths because I have to move, and by doing so I discover new perspectives, new angles, and I'm just like a little bit more creative. Especially when you start shooting and when you start with your photography, I highly recommend shooting with a fixed focal length. The memory cards I currently use are from Lexa. I use 128GB or 256GB. And by choosing memory cards, especially the fast read and write speed is important. It should be between 250 megabytes per second to 300 megabytes per second. I know they are expensive, but they're worth it. So let's talk camera settings. I always shoot in manual mode, usually using an open aperture of 1.4 or like, let's say, between 1.4 and 2.8. If you don't have a lens with like 1.4 aperture, just use like the lowest aperture you can shoot it to let as much light in as possible. My shutter speed, especially here in the studio, is at 1/200th of a second. These are the settings for all my natural light shoots here in our studio. I set the ISO on auto. There will be a separate video about ISO and shooting with high ISO, but what I can say is that I don't worry about ISO during the shoot and basically rather have a picture with high ISO than have no picture at all. So those are my main points about like the equipment and the setup in which I shoot boudoir and nude photography. As you already know, everything is set up to be like as efficient as possible, to be as consistent as possible and repeatable as possible. I don't want to think about like equipment and setup. I just want to be creative, like focus on communication with my client and create stunning art. So how about you? Like, do you love black and white images? Do you love color images? How are your settings which you shoot boudoir and nude photography? Just let me know. And if you have any questions, please write a short message or just ask your questions in the comments below the video. I also want to thank all the supporters on Patreon. You make it possible that we create the video series, the Boudoir Secrets Masterclass. If you're interested, we're releasing multiple content on Patreon each week. Uncensored content, photos, videos, tips and tricks, posing cards, behind the scenes videos. And if you are into that, if you'd like to see more, I post a link to our Patreon account in the description below the video. Now it's up to you. I hope you enjoyed the video. We talked about where you can shoot, about how you find models, and now about my equipment and my setup for boudoir nude photography. So it's your turn. Go out and create some stunning art. I see you in the next video.